Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Mess. So Terran got a fun and bonus episode for you guys for this evening because Clockwork Knight 2 has a prototype now available to play, and it was done with some intrepid mod work off a Sega Saturn demo disc, because back in the day a lot of demo discs were released and sometimes there would be more playable game on the disc than you would expect. Saturn Prime Selections 1 here, a Japanese exclusive, has more Clockwork Knight 2 playable now with patches than it ever did before, and that's just so awesome. I love when things like this happen. And you will see here from the beginning we have the start menu, but the options menu is now accessible, something you can never access from the build when it just came on the demo disc. And I just love things like this. Getting new experiences to play on Sega Saturn, one of my favorite consoles of all time, is just so great. And it seems like Sega Saturn is hot right now with the Bomberman SS prototype available, as well as the build of the X-Men Konami arcade game, and now a prototype build of Clockwork Knight 2. But I think if you look at the calendar, this probably came before Saturn Bomberman SS, and I'm just getting a chance to take a look at it now. And big thanks to one of my subscribers for sending me the information about this. If you know about things happening, definitely leave me a comment. Maybe I will cover it in a video. But there's so many different demo discs out there, and a lot of them have builds for games, and a lot of times they were just coded to stop after you entered a level, but there may actually be more content in there, and that's probably across the board for pretty much every system that had demo discs. There's probably a lot of things out there playable that we just don't know about yet. But Clockwork Knight 2 is such a well-known game for the Sega Saturn, and it's also a cruel game. You gotta get used to the jumping mechanics or it'll just throw you down into a ditch. But I remember playing this back in the day. I did love it, and while I don't have a photographic memory of the game in and of itself, this does feel and look slightly different than what I remember it being. And I'm sure big fans of this game are going to comb through all of the files and all of the different areas of the levels available to see all of the differences, because this is definitely work in progress build. This is not a finished retail game. But do remember as well, Clockwork Knight developers had a sick sense of humor, and they wanted to kill you in new and exciting ways. Once you get to the top of this tower here, it's going to show you all of these different bonus items to collect, and that's going to lead you all the way down to your death into a ditch. Now there is a level select, but just be aware, Area 5 and a boss is selectable. You can see 6 and 7, but if you select them, you're going to get an error, which I will show you in just a bit. But getting back into the Clockwork Knight prototype playable game, this is just so much fun to see. I love these preservation efforts. I love when fans comb through files and find things that no one ever realized existed. Just recently they were found to have an entire build of Clockwork Knight playable within Clockwork Knight 2, decades after the game actually came out. There's so much stuff out there hiding directly under our noses. It just takes somebody to look, to take the files apart, and to see what's actually available. And I always love to celebrate that with confetti, as you just saw on the channel, because you know I love preservation work and trying to find long lost games. Obviously Clockwork Knight 2 was not lost, we do have it, but having more and different versions of it is just so much fun. Sega Saturn is definitely having a moment in 2024, and I hope it continues throughout the entire year. I can't wait to see what modders come up with next, because there is so much to take a look at here. It is just the tip of the iceberg as far as the Saturn library is concerned. And if for some reason you've never played Clockwork Knight or Clockwork Knight 2, definitely check them out. It definitely has a vibe. It's ever so slightly off-putting. It is definitely a bright, cheery game, but something about the animation styles and the 2D and 3D elements mixed together have always been a little bit disconcerting in my opinion. But tell me down below what you think of this game. I would be curious. But just having something like this is awesome. Unfortunately, there isn't a huge ton to see here. There are 3 different levels as well as a boss, but getting anything in and of its own right is just so much fun. Now you will see here in the menu, you do have the area select. You're going to see 5, 6, 7, but if you pick anything other than 5, you're going to get a read error, and it's going to be missing a file. Seems like soundtable71.bin, or at least that's what I'm guessing. Bin files are just data files, and it's missing, and it'll boot you back out to the operating system, for lack of a better term, of Saturn. But possibly these files are in a different build of Clockwork Knight 2 somewhere, and some of this could be rebuilt to see what else is beyond that error. Now I did test this on MedDefend and Mr. FPG, and I was able to successfully run them on both, but I did not have time to test on real Saturn hardware. But I will ask around. If you tried this on Saturn hardware, leave me a comment down below and tell me what you guys think, whether or not it works. And this game has absolutely a fun soundtrack, and you know I'm going to give you a sound sample, so listen for 45 seconds. I'll come back and show you more prototype footage of Clockwork Knight 2. But enjoy. It's an awesome and weird soundtrack, but it totally works within the context of the Clockwork Knight universe. Now, if you go above last boss, those icons, and hit any button, you're going to load into this boss fight. It's a CRT television, and as much as I love those and keep them in my collection, we're going to have to destroy it today. And I do not believe that this was ever accessible within the actual demo build. You started at 5-1, and when you would beat that level, you would get a little splash screen telling you when Clockwork Knight 2 was going to be out in Japanese, and I will show that to you in just a moment or so. But again, I just love stuff like this. I love the Saturn hardware and what it did back in the day. The quads mixing with the pre-rendered sprites, Pepperouchau there being pre-rendered for sure. It's just such a fun look, and I have fond memories of playing this game. And now that the prototype's out, I kind of want to go back, take my Clockwork Knight 2 copy off the shelf, and give it another playthrough, and definitely be able to compare what differences might be between this build and what the retail game disc came out with. Because it is a really fun game. It's not as fondly remembered as some stuff on the Sega Saturn, but I've loved it back in the day, and getting more of it here today is just a ton of fun. And I love all of the different things going on with that television, and the fact that it takes its circuit board out to try to smash you and ends up destroying itself in the process, basically like it broke its computerized brain on a pencil holder. This game has a ton of sense of humor and a ton of charm, and you're going to see it here in spades. And you'll see that we do get that bonus count up there, and the minute you go past the boss, you're going to load back into stage 5-1. And do be aware that you have up to 5 lives to be able to get through this entire demo. If you run out of lives, you have to start over. There is obviously no continue feature because this was never actually designed for you to continue when you were playing it as a demo. You die, you start over, you go back to the menu, and you check out the other demos on the disc. But if this just doesn't feel like Donkey Kong Country here, except in a completely different universe, I don't know what is. This is just an awesome platformer, and being able to enjoy more of it on Sega Saturn is so great. I'm so happy that people still do stuff like this. Look for these demos, look for these prototypes, and try to bring more to the Sega Saturn library, because it's not like we get many new games on the Sega Saturn whatsoever. So being able to go back and experience things that we've had for years and just didn't realize is always so fun. This is second only to finding prototypes of games that were never released and being able to share them with a bunch of other people so they can enjoy them as well. And this is not abnormal in the world of demo discs. There's definitely a lot of demo discs out there on Saturn, on PlayStation 1, and many other consoles where there was more to the game than met the eye, and people have unlocked it. So it really makes me think what else might be hiding under our noses. But as we cross over into the foreground and background here, this is just one of those Sega Saturn games. I remember it fondly, and I'm so excited to see more of it here. And if you do run out of lives, you're going to get the game over screen, and this is what you would normally see if you just played the demo. You get a splash screen saying when the game was coming out on July 28th, and that it was going to be 48,000 yen, and I love that little polygonal model of Pepperouchau in the back. Now you'll see that this is called Pepperouchau's Adventure, not Clockwork Knight 2. They had different names in different regions, and if you can't find the level select, just pop back into the menu options as far as the game is concerned, and then that level select will appear again. It seems to appear and disappear at random, so if you can't find it, go into options, exit out, and you get that read error again if you pick the wrong thing. But this is just so much fun. So many cool things have been happening for Sega Saturn recently, and I can't wait to see what comes up next. So if you enjoy these kind of smaller videos where we just look at current events and what's going on in gaming, especially retro gaming, leave me a comment down below and tell me if you want to see more, because these are kind of just playing around on the channel, and because Sega Saturn has been so popular lately and it is one of my favorite consoles, I can't help but want to share it with you guys. But that's the deal. If you download the Prime Selections demo, patch it with this patch, you're going to be able to play a prototype version of Clockwork Knight 2, and nobody's going to complain about that. Short of that, I'll do another video the next time something cool like this happens, but we are done, and I'll see you guys next time. Don't fall. Bye-bye.